Hello students, this is assistance on the text and the questions for the First Crusade. And before we begin reading the text, I want to go over and look at the questions that you're being asked so that you know what to listen for as we're reading. So the First Crusade happened from 1096 to 1099, and we know that from previous work in class. Question number 1 is who led the First Crusade? So we're either looking for the name of an actual person or a group of people who set off on the First Crusade. Question 2 is why did the first Crusaders travel overland even though the journey would have been much shorter by sea? And we probably remember looking at the map in the textbook that showed some of the first Crusades coming from Paris, heading southeast over to the Holy Land. Question 3, why was disease common on the First Crusade? Question 4, during the First Crusade, what was true about the Muslims that explains why the Crusaders were victorious? So we're looking for what's going on with the Muslim forces to explain why the Christian forces basically were victorious. Number 5, how did the Christian Crusaders act when they got into the city of Jerusalem? Use specific examples from the text. So this question wants you to put things down here that we've gotten out of the text. And then question number 6, by the end of the First Crusade, who was in charge of Jerusalem? And we know that Jerusalem is also known as the Holy Land. So we want to know, was it Christians or Muslims? So that's really what we're looking for. So if we go back up to the text, we're going to read. We just have, it looks like 3 paragraphs, so we can mark our text really quick as we do 1, 2, and 3. And we are going to, I'm not going to use the target, but we're going to go ahead and mutt while we read. The First Crusade was led by 4 nobles and around 30,000 knights, peasants, and commoners. So I know nobles would be a lord of a manor, a fancier person in the feudal pyramid. Traveling by sea was impossible since the Crusaders did not control the ports on the coast of the Middle East. So that helps explain why we're going overland. Therefore, Christians marched to Jerusalem by land, traveling eastward through Asia Minor. The journey was difficult. Accounts from the expedition talk about Crusaders running out of fresh water and being forced to drink animal blood and even their own urine. Due to this, disease was very common. You cannot drink animal blood and your own urine and stay healthy. Finally, by June of 1099, the Crusaders had reached the Holy Land. So I do want to point out at this time that it was about a 3-year journey after Pope Urban calls for it, and then they finally get to the Holy Land. Paragraph 2. By the time the Christians reached Jerusalem, the Seljuk Empire was starting to crumble into several smaller city-states. And I know the Seljuk Turks are the Muslims. It's a group of Muslims. Muslims had trouble uniting to defeat the Crusaders. Despite struggling at first, the Christians eventually surrounded the city and scaled its walls. And in this case, the word scaled means they climbed up and over the walls. I'm going to move up just a little bit. In July 1099, the city surrendered. And the city in this case is Jerusalem. Christians burst into the city, cutting down Muslims and Jews everywhere. So meaning they were using their swords to wound and kill, and taking anything of value they could find. Accounts from the time say that Jerusalem was ankle deep in blood. Afterwards, Muslims claimed that as many as 70,000 people were killed and that Crusaders took whatever they could carry from the sacred Muslim mosque, the Dome of the Rock. And we talked previously about how Jerusalem is a city that is sacred to all three monotheistic religions. Last paragraph, paragraph 3. Following the First Crusade, Christians created 4 kingdoms around Jerusalem to further guard the city. Many fighters opted to stay behind and continued to guard the city while most returned home. So it's telling us that some Christians stayed behind in the Holy Land. So that is the text. This allows you to answer all 6 questions. Shouldn't take you very long. I hope this helps you on your education journey.